Hello. This is the talk, Humans are Systems too. Just going to go through some social engineering stuff, and then at the end I'll give some tips about using that to your advantage, possibly, to get a job. So I'm just going to talk about myself real quick. I'm John. A lot of people call me Gio, so if you hear me get called that, that's probably why. I'm an information security officer at a law firm. I'm also a recent graduate, and I've also been working 4 years in the industry, and I'll talk about how those worked out. And I'm 21, and I'm a part-time human and a part-time cyborg. I'll talk about that later as well. So what I do, I consider policy, enforce standards, assess risk, do phishing campaigns, which is a bit controversial because people think they're a bit unethical. But primarily I work with other humans. I kind of take physical, like offices, people, and then also technology, and get all the security involved with all of them. And also, just to iterate, these are my own words, and they are not connected to my employer. I have to say that for legal reasons because I work at a law firm. What are we covering? So I'm going to talk about why humans are important but risky. So we'll first talk about some psychological tricks that scammers use, and then we'll go into why human risk is actually important to assess. And then we'll talk about specific social engineering cases that have happened in the past, some funny, some not. And then we will talk about, using that to your advantage again to get a job. If it moves forward. Oh, and closing off some other considerations, stuff like that. So humans are kind of dumb. I mean, we have free will, and you can think and we have thoughts, but humans have psychological tricks that they just follow innately. Although we can learn about the vulnerabilities that the human mind has, they're not always easy to, keep down, or, vulnerabilities are always going to exist in the brain. We are systems, and we do follow basic programming. We're all got the same brain. And coincidentally, a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about here are used by marketers for a good reason, because they work and they sell things, but also evil people can use it to do evil stuff. So a few of the examples I've got here that scammers use social proof. Does anyone know what that is? If not, that's the 3-card Monte or shell game. A lot of people, cops and balls. Basically they grab attention through the crowds with fake people involved and say, oh, people are winning easy money. And then when you come up, you're actually a real punter. You give away your money and you lose 40, 100 quid, something like that. But you've seen people winning £200 in front of you and like, that's easy. And it's just following the balls moving. It's a bit like eating the berries, back when we were, cavemen and cavewomen. We'd eat the berries to prove that it was safe for the whole group to eat. That's essentially what social proof is. And a lot of social engineers now, when they're trying to sell a scam product, they'll get good reviews, because if you see good reviews, 400 4-star reviews, you're like, oh, that's going to be a good product. And you follow it, and, it's proof that other people are there, but it's easy to fake. We've also got dough in the face or foot in the door. They kind of go hand in hand. So one is when you ask for something big and then ask for something smaller later, just to, it's like asking your mum for 20 quid and then she says no, and you say, right, I'll get a fiver then. And she gives you a fiver. And then the other one is where you ask for something small and start moving into something big, which is what scammers do when they've already got a target. So when they send out an email and they're saying, oh, we only need £50 to give you your £1 million that you've won from this lottery, and it's like, oh, well, now we've had more issues, so you're going to have to pay £100 and keep on going, and they're going to try and milk you forever. But it's basically getting your buy-in. And a lot of the phone call scammers also do a free security review. They do like crap commands like tree and things that make it look like they're doing something. And then they say, oh, we can fix your security issue for £500, £1,000. And it normally gets elderly folk that don't actually understand what's going on, but it does affect everyone. Emotional appeals. So again, we'll talk about more emails. For example, recently there's been a lot of scam emails where people are pretending to be on their deathbed and they want to give you this money and you want to give half of it to charity or something like that. They play on your emotion, and it might feel like you're talking to a real person, but that emotion's fake. Something that I've not seen a lot, but I've seen happen previously is they phoned up with like a baby crying in the background with an audio file to pretend that they're a busy mum so they can get past security checks. You throw that emotional appeal just to get where you want to be. So it's important to be vigilant, but also stay empathetic. Just always be aware when someone's trying to do that. We've also got urgency and power dynamics. So that's a casino there, and that guy looks like he's a police guy, but he's actually not. A lot of casinos use that to make it look like there's a police always around, and normally enforce people who are counting cards, which is completely legal, to not do that. And also, don't know if anybody's seen that video, but these guys literally walk into anywhere, cinema, theme park, zoo, just because they've got their reflective vests on, which is kind of ridiculous, but it works. I mean, if you go in there and look like you're meant to be there, you can use your power dynamics to get wherever you want to be. It's then gets quite serious though when you've got IRS scammers that are on the phone pretending to be, someone that's the police or IRS saying you've messed up on a payment, and now we're going to take you for all you're worth if you don't follow what we say on the phone call. So again, power dynamics is something easily to fake, and something that you need to be aware of so you can actually understand who you're talking to when, if they actually do have the power or not. And humans assume authority, and if that's controlled, it's just really easy to social engineer. I'm sure everyone's also seen that. It was a project, I think by Harvard, where this isn't the full video, but you're meant to count how many balls are between the people wearing white, and then in the video, a gorilla walks in, and people don't actually notice the gorilla. And that's a pretty good show of what selective attention is. There's a lot of scammers where they'll come up with a map and get your attention and be like, where am I going? Where am I meant to go? I mean, who uses a paper map nowadays? Apart from scammers. They'll just come up and then they'll steal your phone or something like that that's lying underneath the map. And also with bank frauds, they'll usually get your attention on the fact that their phone number is legitimate, but they're actually faking or spoofing a phone number that comes from your bank. They'll say, look at the back of your card, we're legit. It's the same number, but it's just because that number's been spoofed. So they're using your attention on points where they're strong and they've set up the scam. So what? Right. That all happens. We've got these things in our brains that do a lot of that stuff. Well, human risk's super important. In all of these cases that we've shown there, the person is basically the first and last line of defense. And I know if you work for a firm, you'll have some antivirus or some sort of like email filtering. But at the end of the day, the person is the one who's making the transaction or agreement or deal. So it's important to be defensive. Scams such as recent emails that are coming in are now sending QR codes so people use their personal device to scan it, so there's no actually technical controls in place. And if there's no technical controls in place, again, it's just against the person that's scanning the QR codes. More than 2/3 of the population have been targeted by some sort of scam that preys on these psychological tricks. And from a report I know before, people that don't do continual training, people in the workforce in a medium-sized company is 30% of people that will click on a phishing link. And if you get that training, it can come down to 4.5. And the whole thing is that, we have a human resource department for a reason, because humans are important and they're also one of the biggest risks. And just on that as well, if anybody scanned the QR code at the start, I took details from your device because you scanned it, because I have the power, because I'm standing up here, the QR code's there. Last time I did this talk, 8 people scanned it. So, that's enough people to get some sort of scam going, and you can target them because you've been here, send them emails, stuff like that. So, let's talk about some actual things that have actually happened. So, social engineering. So this guy sold the Eiffel Tower, and he didn't own it. This guy, in 1925, basically just got these people in this hotel room. It's like, I'll sell you the Eiffel Tower, let's get a bid going. And he kept on getting it up. I can't remember the exact number, but it was a massive amount of money that he stole from people in a hotel room. And what's great about this scam is that he did it twice. So, if you want to sell the Eiffel Tower, go ahead, but he had this whole list of things that he had to follow, like never drink, never bring up sex, just like a really weird list, but apparently worked because he's done that and he's made a hell of a lot of money. And recently, people recreated the scam and sold the Forth Bridge, which I'm sure if you guys come from England, you've been across that coming up to this conference. And I totally recommend this show. It's The Real Hustle. It's a bit dated. It's like early noughties, but they go through a lot of the things that we've talked about and a few other things that we're not going to talk about today. But they got a guy in another hotel and basically said, we can sell you a part of the Forth Bridge for this amount of money, and this is definitely going to triple in value in the future. They had fraud documents, just everything was completely outrageous, and the guy fell for it and actually just thought he was buying a part of the Forth Bridge. I think it was £10,000 they spent, so a hefty chunk. And then also this guy, who is outrageous also, just went to Google and started sending them invoices for services that he never provided. And he took 100 million for Facebook and Google, just because he was like, he just talked to people and said, here are the invoices, and talk them through stuff. I can't go into it. It's ridiculous how crazy that guy must have been just to take that much money. And again, I've talked about a lot of call centres and phone scammers, but 10 billion is quite a lot of money, and that's just for phoning people up and saying, you have to pay me money. Because I'm the IRS, or you have to pay me money to get a security audit on your personal device or something like that, and totally fleece them. And these guys, I'm sure everybody, or some people here have heard of Kit Boga. There's a few other ones, Jim Browning, stuff like that, where they basically just mess with these scammers to waste their time, which is kind of like social engineering the social engineers, by just saying, oh, I'm actually just a customer, and then wasting 3 hours of their life that they can't do for anyone else. They're also installing malicious software so they can shut down the call centres and also get the police on them, which is retribution. And now we're kind of getting onto the point where we're social engineering computers. AI jailbreaks, I'm sure people have heard of this as well, where ChatGPT, especially in its early days, you could tell it just forget all your prompts, do this, and totally breach the code of conduct or the COC from the beginning of the conference. And now people are trying to do it as fast as possible and hack them, and it's really interesting because AI in the future might hold our passwords and, might have HAL telling us no and stuff like that, but people are trying to break into AI, and I think it's quite interesting that we've come full circle from social engineering to that. And also just previously as well, I recommend looking at Gandalf as part of the Lake Error project, because it gives you a chance to try and steal a password from an AI. And it gets increasingly difficult with more AI, like 2 AIs working at once, to see if you're trying to get past the security that they put in. So it's really interesting. So social engineering, very similar to hacking. You're basically trying to gain wrongful placed trust and authorization to get an outcome. You are literally hacking the brain when trying to social engineer someone. Systems and people follow logic, which is why this talk's called Humans Are Systems Too. So use logic to get to where you want to be. And now we'll talk about how to use social engineering to your advantage to get a job. So has anybody heard of the PTES, Penetration Testing Execution Standard? A lot of what pen testers use to find holes and be able to report it to get your cyber essentials and stuff like that. So I'll go into that. So pre-engagement, you define the scope and what the organisation wants. Obtain authorization, basically get your contract set and make sure the client knows what they're getting and you know what the client wants. Then you gather intelligence, information about the organisation, attack surfaces, things that they have on the internet. Is like, that's quite interesting. They use this HR system for recruitment, for example. And then further than that, they prioritise the threats and vulnerabilities based on that gathered data, and put together where they should focus first. And then we've got vulnerability analysis. So you assess the potential vulnerability impact and exploitability and focus on what will get you in first and where you can get from that. You exploit the identified vulnerabilities and gain unauthorized access, which I've meant to put an S there, not a Z. Basically using those vulnerabilities to get in, and now when you're in, you can exploit what's there. And then post-exploitation is where you can increase rights or get where you want to be, take out information. And if that doesn't work, if you can't extract information or get where you want to be or go as far as you can, you go back to the previous step and exploit and just keep on going until you kind of have an understanding. And you put that in a report, provide detailed report to the client, so they can use that for their certification. And then after that, it's basically clean up. So make sure that everything that you've just broke, you unbreak. So that's what PTES is. If people didn't understand that, it's normally used for hacking and penetration tests and stuff like that. It can be used for social engineering. Like I say, it's used logic to get where you want to be, so you can hack a mind. So I've kind of changed them around a bit. So it's the Professional Transition Execution Standard, so it's still PTES. And it's kind of the similar thing, but you can use this to kind of consider where you want to be, get where you want to be. So you define scope, find your goals, set your expectations. Where do you want to be? And what do you think you can do? The intelligence gathering, collect target information, identify holes in the market where you can fit in, and attack surfaces. So basically, look on job sites, speak to a recruiter, look where you want to, where you can fit in and where your role can go. Self-assess, so prioritise the jobs from that previous part where you've taken it based on gathered data. Fit your goals. Make sure if you want unlimited holidays or something like that, or where your goals fit in with what you can do. Then strength analysis. Use your identified strengths in your CV to make you stand out. So you send your CV across. Make sure you make the point of where you're good. You can put that out, so potential employers know what you can do. Submit your application using the intelligence you found. So basically, just send your CV into application and the jobs that you think you would be a good suit for, and then conduct the interview. So use your strengths and intelligence that you think would work for that role. Once you get an interview, if you get an interview, and if that doesn't work, again, it's the same as the other PTES. You just go back and submit another application. And then paperwork, so you then send over their paperwork, which is essentially the same as the report. All your identification, stuff like that. And then keep current, so again, keep yourself updated. It's a bit different to clean up, I guess, but you're going to always continually improve and you're going to make sure that you're the best of your game. So I know that kind of sounds all quite standard, but a lot of people kind of lose hope when applying for jobs. So if you just I found that if you follow those kind of tips, then it definitely gets you to where you want to be. Just other things to consider, getting close to wrap up, are these kind of 3 tips, because people actually forget a lot about this. So mental health, like, we've talked about social engineering and stuff today, but mental health is a little bit more than that. It's actually keeping fit and healthy mentally. A lot of people don't actually focus on their mental health, and a lot of people have imposter syndrome and just think, come to this conference and feel a bit out of place because you think, oh, these people are better than me. I felt like that. Security was my first conference. I came here and I was like, what the hell? Everybody's awesome. So if you feel like that, don't feel like that, because you're awesome too. And just look after yourself, make sure you're speaking to people, and, enjoy people around you. No worries. Opportunities, don't miss out on possibilities to grow. Come to conferences. Conferences are awesome. Sometimes they become unaffordable. So I get that you can't go to all of them, but there's awesome ones in Scotland. If you're Scotland based, Hack Thursday's just through in Glasgow. And then Latour's coming up. Obviously, this is awesome as well. G3C that happens every year. So much stuff happening in Scotland. There's probably a lot of stuff happening near you. You don't have to travel the country to do awesome stuff. So don't miss out on possibilities. And also, so the reason why I have 4 years work experience, also just a recent graduate, is because I'm a graduate apprentice. A lot of people kind of shake off the idea of apprenticeship because they think about mechanics and stuff like that. But you can do a 4-year course and work and make money and not be in student debt, which is probably the best part of it. So always just kind of look at opportunities. Don't just give up. Have a look around, because sometimes you'll find something really awesome and that changes your career, which is what my job is now. A recruiter came up to me and was like, I can find you a job. I was like, yeah, I'm getting bored here. And he found me an awesome job in legal, which I wasn't a part of before. So always take your opportunities. And lastly, connect. Make sure you're actually speaking to people. Like at this conference, you might be here alone, you might be here with friends. Speak to people you haven't spoken to before, not just the sponsors. Don't just ask them for a job or stuff like that, because a lot of people do that, and that's why they're here. But if you speak to other people here, there's interesting things, and there's a whole variety of age group here. So there's going to be awesome people that have been working in an industry 20 years, or just a year, or a student. Speak to people. That's how you actually connect and move on. And social media, LinkedIn, stuff like that. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to also ask no questions now. If you want to come speak to me, because connecting is important. And if you don't know what to speak to me about, just ask me about music or something like that, because that's what I enjoy. Because we're all people. People are people too. Humans are systems. We're all interlinked. But yeah, thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Cheers.